Welcome to the Jordan Talks Jiu-Jitsu podcast, where Mike, Joey, and myself discuss all things grappling. We got a great episode for you today, and we're going to answer viewer questions like always, and we're also going to just recap our weeks, how they went in the jiu-jitsu world. So we'll start with Joey. Joey had a tournament on the weekend, and let's hear how it went.
It went all right. I got second in my division, and then I lost my first match in the absolute. It was my first black belt tournament, so that was kind of fun. It wasn't really the result I was hoping for, but you know, I can't complain too much. Shake some rust off. It's been 3.5 years since I competed, so it's good to get out there. Well,
Andy went up against someone that's literally double your weight, and you know, size does matter in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, he was 2 pounds more than double my weight, so it was I really don't know what I was supposed to do about that, but it went better than I thought. I mean, I went 9.5 minutes with him before I finally tapped. So
what would you do different if you were to face him again?
Not invert. That would be my answer. That was a really bad idea.
Yeah. What was like, did you invert to retain your guard or try to go for submissions?
I think he went to pass, so I inverted to like retain the guard and then tried to grab a knee bar, and he just sprawled out on my inverted body. And I'm surprised my back didn't blow out. It actually held up okay. I felt fine afterwards, but man, in the moment, did that suck.
Yeah, that was like a tactical error, right? Because against someone big, you gotta have to change your game plan a little bit and not do things like that. That's gonna, you know, it's hard to invert underneath someone and get a knee bar when they're that much bigger than you. Right?
Yeah,
so
I have that problem as well. I like to play guard a lot, and whenever I pull guard with guys half or double my size, I mean, it's always torture. It's hell. I always regret it immediately.
But on the flip side, it's kind of hard against bigger guys to take them down too, right?
Yeah.
So it makes it really tough against big guys. Like, what do? Do you try to take them down, and that's a tough thing to do, or pull guard and deal with their top game? You know, I know when I rolled with Bernardo Fari on the weekend, you know, he started on top, which was great, you know, but he's a big dude and he puts on the pressure. So yeah, that was a tough roll for sure.
Yeah, I went into the match with the intent to try to get a takedown, and I think he grabbed my collar, if I'm remembering correctly, and pulled me, and it felt like I was being pulled around by a man twice my size, and it's like, I don't want to be standing with him because I don't see how this is going to end well for me.
Well, I think he's a former like football player too. I could be wrong.
I think so.
He looks like one at least. You know, he's a pretty big jack dude,
and he moves really well for like a big guy. Like there were a couple times where I went to turtle and he was like spinning around to try and get to my back, and I was like, this isn't really fair that a big guy's moving this fast.
So do you have a specific game plan for next time though? Because you might face him again.
Yeah, I guess I would just like definitely not pull the way I pulled that time. Like I kind of pulled into like a half guard. I think if I'm going to do it, I've got to pull into more of like an open guard and try and keep him off my body and use a little bit more range.
Yeah, you can also do the fake guard pull ankle pick.
Yeah, I actually might try that next time.
Man, works all the time against big dudes. It's like my go-to against someone big because they kind of expect you to pull guard too because they're thinking like, yeah, this person's not going to try to take me down. So they're like, oh yeah, you know, he's pulling guard. All of a sudden, oh no, it's a fake guard pull ankle pick. That's like the takedown and move that absolutely everyone like sends me footage of and of them getting in tournaments saying like they use it all the time. I think it's super cool because it's such a great move. Even though I learned it from, you know, Mendez brothers like way back in the day, but I feel like I'm like popularizing it again, kind of starting like a jiu-jitsu trend in a way. Like everyone's doing fake guard pull ankle picks now. When
you were rolling Bernardo, what was going through your head?
Not a whole lot. Just like basically just don't make a mistake. You know, it was a real like chess match, and you know, like so many times it's like we had to like wait for each other to move because we were like trying to time each other. So I thought that was really cool, and I think I hung pretty well with like one of the best in the world to ever do it. It's actually a little frustrating in a way, like seeing some people say like, oh, there's levels to this and stuff like that, and you know. I know like Bernardo, you know, I shouldn't have that like mindset because he's like, you know, world champion, but I thought I did really well, you know, because like, man, he's like 4-0 against Leandro Lowe. He's submitted Leandro Lowe multiple times, and like other guys he's beaten like Buchecha and you know, and all these top dudes, and like, man, I did pretty good against them considering.
Yeah.
How did like obviously Bernardo's one of the best guys to ever do it. How did he feel compared to like other black belts you rolled with, like other decent ones?
Yeah, you know, like I think the main takeaway, without sounding disrespectful at all to Bernardo, is just that he felt human to me. He felt like a normal guy rolling. He has the same type of techniques as everyone else. So I felt like, you know, it gave me a lot of encouragement, that because I knew I could, like I hung with him pretty well, you know. So it didn't feel like anything too crazy I haven't like felt before, other than he was very like deliberate with his movements. So that was a really interesting thing, because he was like very similar to Darren in the sense that he stays really far back from my hips and not letting me elevate him and stuff like that. But he's just more deliberate with his movements, like choosing attacks and going for them with more confidence than kind of Darren would, where Darren's kind of still being more defensive when he's rolling with me, trying not to make any mistakes. But, you know, Bernardo's more confident in his techniques and just going for it, and combined with the size advantage too. So yeah, I thought that was really, really cool, and really, that was the main takeaway. He's very deliberate with his attacks with a lot of confidence.
He seems like a really good guy too. Yeah,
he was a really good guy. He took us to dinner after, and we talked like business type of stuff, because, you know, me and Bernardo have the same kind of mentality. Like we kind of were, you know, in jiu-jitsu, but now like we're kind of transitioning to being like entrepreneurs. So he's always thinking of business ideas, and so am I. So we're always like trying to think of ways to, you know, partner with people and do bigger and better things. So yeah, I think that in the future you'll see a lot more from me and Bernardo doing more stuff together. And yeah, me working with BJJ fanatics more, because yeah, again, like they want to level up their business, and I want to level up mine. So, and I've got a lot of good ideas. So yeah,
that's pretty cool to get to collaborate with a legend like that.
Yeah, it was super cool, because, you know, it was really cool. Like, he's do a double underpass on me, or over underpass, and I learned the over underpass from watching him. So it was really cool. Like, we do it the exact same way, because I learned it from him, like watching online, and, you know, just watching him destroy everyone. And he's, you know, he's got such like a kind demeanor, and you know, and everything like that, chill dude. So some people maybe newer to jiu-jitsu don't understand that, like, he's like literally one of the best to ever do it. He's won the world championship multiple times, absolute division. He's like, you know, pretty freaking good, you know. And yeah, so it's just really cool to roll someone so high level, because, you know, just say like you're really good at basketball or whatever, you don't really get an opportunity to train with, like, you know, Michael Jordan. So yeah. And I think I put Bernardo in that category of like the Michael Jordan, like Kobe Bryant, like LeBron James, like the top tier, right? Because he's beaten like legends of the sport. So yeah, it was really cool to get to experience that.
I don't know how well I would have done there. I think it would have been a grease spot on the mat, but
yeah, in my opinion, it was a defensive masterclass, at least in my opinion, because he was trying to get position on me so many times, but he wasn't able to settle into mount or settle into side control. I was always able to, you know, to kind of get out of it. So, and really practicing what I preach, like about the T-Rex arms and stuff like that, using it against one of the best in the world. So I was really happy with that. So yeah, a little frustrating. People are saying stuff, oh, like, there's levels to it, you know, he destroyed you, stuff like that. Like, I don't see that. I think I did pretty well, but a lot of people too saying like they are impressed with the role, because they have like they actually like, it's like kind of white belts probably are saying, oh, you got destroyed, but like black belts, people are good at jiu-jitsu, they can see, oh wow, like Jordan actually did very well against this guy.
Yeah, when I watched it, like, I thought you did really well. I mean, obviously, like, I came through jiu-jitsu around the same time as you, so like I saw all the stuff Bernardo was doing, and like to watch someone that I started with do that well against him, I was like, oh, like that's, you know, that's really impressive. And I think anyone who's saying like, oh, you got destroyed, it's like, go watch Bernardo at like the 2015 Worlds. Go watch, I'm sure you can YouTube it, go watch him fight Leandro Lo, one of the best guys who just won Worlds again, like an 8-time world champion. Watch that match, and then tell me who did better.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not saying, oh, like better Leandro Lo or anything like that, but I think that did prove that I am very high level. And in my opinion, like, this isn't YouTube going to my head, but I do think I'm like top tier, like one of the best, not the best. I don't claim to be the best in the world, but I think I'm like high level, like top, like, I think if I were to compete right now, I could be top 10 if I really took it serious.
Yeah, I think there are, like, you're definitely one of them, but I do think there are a lot of people out there that if they, you know, had the liberty of training as much as some of these pro guys do and had that drive that these guys have, they could be competitive at the top level. And just because someone hasn't won 5 world champions doesn't mean they're not really, really good.
Exactly. Because that's the thing too. I mean, like, it would be so much easier to like, compete and do these things if I like went to a gym that was specific to competition. Like if I went to Austin, Texas and really dedicated to, being a competitor. And that's like crossed my mind many times because I know like some people like Cameron Florzak, that's what he just did. So he, Cameron Florzak, for those who don't know, he's like a really high level Canadian grappler. And yeah, he opened up a gym recently, I think like 6 months ago. And then he doesn't have his gym anymore, moved to Austin, Texas. So yeah, with the idea of that, he's going to make a real run at a competition, and he can because he's very, very high level. And I think I could do the same for myself, really dedicate myself to competition, and have like really good results. But yeah, I pull myself in so many different directions. It's really hard to choose what I want to do because my mind's all like messed up. Like I want to do everything. So like, one crazy idea I've been having lately, I want to get into politics. I want to become like the Prime Minister of Canada, and in my mind, that's realistic. Like I can do that, so it's like hard to pick what I want to do. I also want to be like a movie director. As like watching a movie, I want to do that. I want to be like this like famous movie director, then Hollywood, all this stuff. And I could just like, that's like one of the problems I have is like, I'm pulled in so many different directions. It's hard to choose what I want to do. And, yeah, it's really tough. And one thing, just in general, we'll start answering viewer questions soon, but yeah, like I might take a break from YouTube just because it's just a lot lately. Like it's just been taking up all my time, and like I work so hard to get to the level I'm at where like absolutely like everyone knows about my channel now, and it's just like I just feel kind of tired now. It's just like, holy crap, it was just like a sprint to the top, and now it's like I need a rest. So I might take like a month or two break.
Well, that's like what we talked about on a previous podcast with Burnout. Like, it's not just for jiu-jitsu. Like, you're working so hard with that YouTube channel that, like, you can burn out with that too.
Exactly. So I think that a break might help. Plus, I need to work on, like, I filmed BJJ Fanatics Instructionals on the weekend, or last week. That's what I was in Boston. And I think it might be a good opportunity to take a break from the channel and start working on those because I want to make them the best instructionals ever. I want to have, like, animations and, like, all these, like, cool things, extra rolling commentaries. Just like pack it together where you absolutely know how to do the techniques after. There's no question in your mind. You understand completely how to do it. So yeah, that might be a good opportunity to just like focus on that. So we'll see what happens. Cause I know like, it's like a YouTube, like cardinal sin to like, take time off and not be consistent. But yeah, I think it's just maybe what I need right now.
You do all this yourself, right? You have nobody else helping you edit your videos or anything like that. It's all you, right?
Exactly. So that's the thing. I do it all myself, and it's just so much work. And because I'm not doing just like videos where I just record it quick and put it on YouTube and just like it's super easy. It's like these videos take like between 10 to 20 hours to make. It's like a real job. And yeah, it's just a lot. So sometimes it can be frustrating. People kind of seeing from the outside, having their opinions on me or the channel. Like, someone was saying, oh, like Jordan's videos are good, but he's not very consistent in his posting, saying it's like a bad thing. But I'm like, I know I shouldn't let comments get to me. He wasn't trying to be rude, but it was like, this kind of like made me a bit like feel like unappreciated. It's like, these videos take me so freaking long to make, and to say I'm inconsistent, it's like, yeah, I just feel it's just like unappreciating what I'm doing. So, but I know so many people do appreciate what I'm doing, so I shouldn't listen to, the few negative people out there, but it's just hard, especially when you're working so hard. But yeah, I'll get over it.
I say 99% love what you do. It's just that 1% that digs at you. I understand what you mean, but yeah, it's hard to not let it get at you, but you gotta try not to, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like anything, it's like you shouldn't feel a certain way, but it's like, and you try not to, but it's like, damn it, I do feel that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, but we're gonna take some viewer questions now. So let's start off with this one's a good one from Jeffrey.
Hey Jordan, my name is Jeffrey, and I've been training jiu-jitsu now for about 4 months. I do 4 classes a week, which are 2-hour classes with 1 hour of rolling. And we just had our first promotion night that I was a part of. And I was expecting to earn a stripe on my white belt, but unfortunately it didn't happen. And I know it's something that I shouldn't think of too much or, let it bother me too much. But unfortunately, I keep questioning why I might have not earned it. I feel like I do train very hard, and I train well. So it's just one of those, it's a hard feeling to reconcile, something I've been wondering about, and I'm just wondering how you would suggest coping with that. Also, just thank you for all the content you've been making on YouTube and this new podcast as well. It's been extremely helpful, and I appreciate any feedback. Thank you.
So I'll start this one off, and it's a great question to go over right now because we just had grading on Wednesday. Yeah. So very applicable question. So first off, I know it's like we just said, you know, you shouldn't feel that way, but it's just hard not to. Try not to. It's like you can't shake that feeling. So, don't feel bad about feeling bad for not getting promoted. That's a totally normal feeling. And, I'll give my coach's perspective first. So in my perspective, how I do promote people, sometimes I just want a little extra from them first. So, like I just want to see just that little extra before I get them that promotion. So, for example, like, Mike, like it's been, I could have given him a 4 stripe on Wednesday, but I just want to wait a little bit longer. What I want to see from Mike specifically is I want to see him be a little more fluid in his movement and just a little more dynamic, because Mike has a very, he's a very strong guy, great technique, but like sometimes just a little too stationary, using strength to stop things, where I think that it would be nice to see him kind of flow with the movement more. And, that's what I think is going to be what it takes for him to get his purple belt. So, when you get your 4 stripe on your blue belt, I feel like that's a very serious thing. Like you're very, very close to purple. So I just wanted to wait a little bit longer, even though it had been 7 months. And I did worry. I worried that maybe Mike would feel bad for not getting it. But at the same time, I feel like I got to do what I got to do as a coach and, hold my standards, have my standards be high standards, and have a specific reason for why I give someone their belts and their stripes. So that could be what it is. But it could also be just that your coach honestly didn't even notice you or just like didn't really care enough. Like me, I don't know. Like, I don't know the situation specifically. Sometimes that happens where, a coach will kind of just forget about a student, and that's not right whatsoever. And I hope that's not the case, but sometimes it does happen. There are coaches out there that don't pay attention and just aren't very great of coaches.
I was actually relieved that you didn't give me a stripe. I don't feel that I'm like you said, there's a lot I need to work on before I'm close to getting a purple belt, and I appreciated not getting that stripe. But when I was a white belt, every stripe meant so much to me. I'd look forward to it so much, and I think I went 4 or 5 months before I got my first stripe, and I just figured it'd be up to you. You'd know when I was ready. I don't know when I'm ready. You do.
Exactly. And just to expand on like my coach's perspective, like one thing, like, it can be hard to, like, sometimes you, as a coach, you get so busy and you kind of just don't really realize that people have progressed. And I mean, when it's like grading, there's kind of no excuse in my opinion. Like, I know we had to have a grading because I just got so busy and caught up, not able to really, because usually I like to assess people kind of as we go. And I was so behind on getting to everyone. It's like everyone deserved like a promotion, a stripe, or some belts. So, I think that was a flaw for me as a coach, not really giving that extra effort and attention I should have. And, but again, because it was grading, you didn't get one. You probably should have. Like 4 months is like a normal amount of time to get your stripe. And if you're working hard and you feel you deserve one, I imagine you probably did.
Do you have a problem with someone in his situation who has been training quite a while? Like 4 months is a fair amount of time to not get a stripe. Asking their coach, like, what, not necessarily like, can I have it, but saying like, what do I need to do to get, like, what am I missing? What's the next piece that you want to see me add?
So that's such a tricky situation, because for me, if someone were to ask me, I'd be like, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked. Communication is great. I think communication solves all problems, but there's coaches out there, if you even mention it to them, they're going to hold you back forever. So like, I know specific coaches that if you were to say anything about getting a blue belt, you're not getting that thing for years now, And same with stripes, it's like a cardinal sin. And, I hated that coming up because, I don't get why it had to be such a taboo thing. I was like, I did want to get promoted and I wanted to know what I needed to do to get promoted. So it was a really frustrating thing for me. It's like, I want to talk about it, but I know if I mention it to the coach, they're going to be pissed and they're not going to want to promote me. So I think that's total trash. And that's like, that shouldn't be the way it is. Communication, like, is absolutely key in life in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I agree. Like, yeah, a lot of people, for them, like the first stripe is a goal that they have, or the blue belt is a goal. And if you don't know what you need to do to get to that goal, it can be hard to figure it out. Like, you could be going down a completely wrong path. And if you don't know where you're supposed to be going, you'll never get there. And if the person who's in charge of deciding whether or not you've hit that goal isn't willing to tell you what you need to do to hit it, there is a lot of ambiguity there.
Especially in such a, like you said, ambiguity, especially in such a subjective thing as getting promoted in jiu-jitsu, because every coach has different standards and different requirements. So to not be able to talk to them about what those standards and requirements are, It's absolutely crazy. I don't agree with that at all. So yeah, really frustrating situation for you, because it does feel good to, to be recognized for your hard work and to get stripes, especially your first one, So I imagine that was a moment in your life and your jiu-jitsu journey where you wanted that thing, and for good reason, and to not get it definitely sucks,
Did he say that they grade every so often? Was that in there? Like, is the next grading in 6 months sort of thing, or next 4 months?
Yeah, he didn't mention, but that is like a great question too, because, some coaches, like I like to do an annual grading, but also do people throughout the year and the weeks and everything. So, but if it's like not like that at all, and you got to wait till the next grading, and maybe your next grading is until like, 6 months from now or a year, I mean, that definitely sucks.
Yeah.
As a coach, like you just kind of said, you like to do one big grading and then like little gradings. As someone, when you were coming up, did you prefer like the big grading day, like at the end of the year when everyone gets their belts or stripes, or did you prefer it when it was kind of like just given out after class on a night by the coach, like on an as earned basis?
Yeah, I like that mystery. I like that sense of mystery, not knowing what's going to happen, not knowing if you're going to not knowing if there's going to be promotion, if it's going to be you, if it's going to be a teammate. I don't really love like twice a year or even annual so much, but as you get to become a bigger school, it becomes more necessary to do that, because it's just so much to do it all the time. So, and there's also benefits of it too. It's like you get to have like a big ceremony day where everyone's like feeling good. Everyone's there to witness. And that's a problem where it's like, if, say I want to promote someone, but I want everyone to be there. I want it to be a big class. I want their friends to be there. I want their girlfriend or their boyfriend to be there. So it can be tough to time it that way, where it is easier to have an annual grading that way.
It's more of like a logistical issue at that point. Because I've always preferred like I like my issue with the big annual gradings is, especially if it's like a belt, sometimes it almost feels like it's not like, I know a lot of people have said like it's not like an accomplishment because like a bunch of people got it, and I feel like I just got it today because the grading was today, and like, do I deserve it? Or like maybe it doesn't feel as special because it's not like about them, like, here, congratulations on your belt kind of thing. Everyone, like, it's just more of like a function of like everyone got one, so it doesn't feel as special, but it is. It's just, it's hard to get around everybody.
Yeah, because it's like, what are the chances that all those people, they didn't deserve the belt like the day before, but they deserve it that specific day, right? Yeah. So it's like, there's definitely flaws to it. But sometimes, like, just things in life, it's just, there's the best way, there is flaws to it, there's pros and cons. So I don't love the annual grading, but sometimes it's a necessary evil, in my opinion.
Well, the other night was fantastic too, because you saw a father and daughter both get their blue belt. Yeah. That was amazing. Like, they will never forget that night for the rest of their life.
Yeah, shout out to Barry and Mallory. And it was just great because everyone got to be there too to witness it. And there's some great pictures that he sent me after that just showed like the smile on her face when Mallory sees her dad Barry get the promotion, and they embrace after with a hug and everything. It was beautiful. So I wish I would have had a photographer there, or have someone hold my camera to take pictures.
Yeah, it was a really nice night.
Yeah, it was. And that's the benefit too of annual gradings. Like I said, pros and cons. One of the pros is that it's just a feel good time. It's like everyone's getting promoted, everyone's high fiving each other, and saying great job, everything like that. So yeah, pros and cons. But we'll let's get started with let's continue with the next question. Well, this one is from Anthony.
Hi, Jordan, Mike, and Joey. This is Anthony from Kingston. A couple episodes ago, I heard Mike mention that he's at the academy 6 days a week, and that he's in his late 40s. I think that's what he said. I myself turned 48 in 2 days, July 2nd, and basically now I'm at the point, I've been doing this for 16 years, but I'm at the point where my body takes a lot longer to recover. So if I go hard with those youngsters, the 20-year-olds with that never-ending gas tank, the next day it's almost guaranteed that I can barely move, and I'm finding that I just don't want to roll every day anymore. So what advice would you give to an older grappler? Thanks, guys.
Yeah, so this is a great question for Mike, and let's hear your secret, Mike.
Well, my secret is not for everybody, but for myself, it was testosterone replacement therapy. When I was 44 years old, I went in and got my blood levels checked. I had a full physical, made sure everything was all good, and my testosterone was very, very low on the scale. So I was prescribed it by the doctor just to bring it up to a high normal level. And I found that changed everything for me. And I'm going to preface this with, I am not a doctor. Don't take anything I say as medical advice. But for me, it really, really helped. It speeds up recovery.
It speeds up recovery. It it helps you get leaner, gives you motivation, it helps you to stay youthful, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So it's almost like a mini fountain of youth, I find. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that's frustrating for me, because I do plan on going on it one day, because why would I not want higher testosterone levels? Why would I not want to have good testosterone levels when I'm older, right? So one day I'll go on it for sure. But it's a little frustrating for me that people can talk down about TRT like it's something that others are doing wrong. First off, who cares what other people are doing? Like, if you're getting beat up by someone on TRT, it's likely not because of the TRT, unless they're just muscling everything. Because I've rolled with many people on steroids, on TRT, and it's never made a difference. So, I really don't like when people talk down about it, because, everyone should do what they want to do. And if it literally enhances your life, enhances your rolling, who is anyone else to say you shouldn't be doing it, or it's cheating or anything like that? Exactly.
And as you can tell by my physique, I'm not exactly 190 pounds jacked at 5'7", right? Like I'm 155 pounds.
Exactly. Like, you're pretty jacked. Like, you're pretty you're looking pretty good, but you're not just an absolute ball of muscle. I
don't even lift weights. I just use it as almost like a supplement. Like, if you were low in vitamin D, you would take vitamin D. I was low in testosterone, so I take testosterone. That's how I look at it. I don't see it as cheating. I don't see it as even really much of an advantage when I'm rolling guys half my age. Their testosterone levels are the same as what mine are right now. So I don't see it as cheating or people to look down at me. I've had people look down at me and say that that's cheating. I don't believe it is. Every time I've watched a tournament, a lot of the guys in the ADCC, I don't know if I should even say that, but a lot of the guys, it's an open secret.
Yeah, let's be honest.
Yeah, like those guys are
on actual steroids.
Yeah.
They're on actual steroids.
Yeah, I don't know if I should say it or not, but yeah.
The majority of competitors out there are on steroids. The overwhelming majority. It's extremely hard to test for steroids within jiu-jitsu, because it's easy to get around the testing requirements. And why would you want to live your life suboptimally because the opinions of others, differ from what's good for you, right? Yeah. And that's something I should take away, because people's opinions piss me off and they affect the way I think. So, yeah, I think that's ridiculous. And one thing, my view on this is men's testosterone levels have declined over time like crazy. So, due to microplastics and stuff like that, and all sorts of things that affect testosterone levels. So, you having a high normal is probably what it was actually like to have decent testosterone levels 100 years ago. So why live suboptimally when it's just easy to get a prescription from your doctor and live a better life? It's like if you have sleep apnea, is using a CPAP machine, is that an unfair advantage because it's not natural? You know what I mean? Now you're getting great sleep. You're cheating. You should have crap sleep because, that's not natural, whatever. So man, I just can't believe people would care so much about, what other people do. And when it comes to steroids too, I don't like it as much in MMA, because I think it's these people are fighting, punching each other in the face. There's, brain conditions on the line, but man, sports would be less interesting without steroids. All these guys, a majority of the guys in the UFC are on it. It's not hard to get, it's not hard to get past the requirements, like I said earlier. And most people in jiu-jitsu are on it. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to use the eye test on most of these guys, and that guy's on steroids.
Yeah. The way I look at it too, for a lot of these tournaments, they don't test for steroids. They don't say you can't be on steroids. I've been to a lot of jiu-jitsu tournaments. Not one of them in that little contract you sign says you can't be on steroids. Just you show up, you paid your money, you're going to compete. If it's not in the contract, I'm not breaking a rule. For the record, I don't do steroids. I've never done a steroid. Anyone can tell that by looking at my body shape. I'm not a big guy, but I've competed against people who have, and that's your choice. You wanted to live that way. That's what you want to do. It's not breaking any rules. It's not cheating. And for people to say it in the gym too, oh, it's cheating to take it. What rule did I break?
Yeah, I think especially the gym. Guys, we're just training. If you get beat up by a guy on steroids, who cares? Who cares?
Yeah, and you don't know what else is going on in their life. Maybe someone on testosterone like Mike, they couldn't train 2 days a week if they didn't take it. why would you want a training partner to not take something that could help them be in there and train more?
Yeah.
I mean, like if someone needed heart medication or something, you wouldn't tell them not to take that because it's unfair. Like, no, you want people to be healthy. You want them to be happy. And just because you don't want to do it doesn't mean you should tell everyone else that they shouldn't do it.
Yeah, there's so many examples of that, so many medications, you know, like Adderall, someone's got ADHD, can't focus. Now they got Adderall to help them focus, but no, it can't take that. You know, it's going to help your performance. Ridiculous.
Yeah. The testosterone, it helps me immensely. It helps me recover. That's the main thing. I'm not in it to build giant muscle. I'm not in it to compete, anything like that, but it helps me recover. I'm 47 years old and I train 6 days a week and I'm not sore all the time. I can recover by the next morning. You know, I watch my diet. I eat clean. I live a healthy lifestyle. I don't smoke. I don't do any drugs. So, I mean, yeah, I don't see a problem in using something a doctor prescribed to me that is for my health benefit.
You know, we're not saying TRT is like the magic bullet, which we should go on as, because now you can't train as much as you want to, whatever, right? Like there's definitely a lot of things you can do, just like, you know, reducing stress, because your body can only be in two states, parasympathetic or sympathetic, right? So like either your body's in a state of stress or it's in a state of repair. And if you're stressing about things in life, which I do all the time, then you're going to be having a hard time, you know, recovering and, yeah, it's going to affect you a lot. So the biggest thing is going to be stress reduction and getting better sleep, and also improving your diet and just, you know, working on your mobility, your strength, but you know, all those kind of things. So I actually I've got a course coming out soon. It's called the Jiu-Jitsu Performance and Longevity Course, and it goes over nutrition, it goes over strength and conditioning, it goes over mobility, and how to stay safe on the mats, and also things to like avoid burnout, this and that. So that'll be a really good thing for you if you purchase that. Please do. And it comes out in like probably a couple of weeks. I'm almost done it, and I'm working on it with my friend Kieran in Australia. And yeah, that'll be a really great way to answer your question, how to, you know, perform better. But also, you know, you've been training 16 years, so like, it makes sense not to want to roll every day. You know, When I first started, and for many, many years, every single day I wake up so excited to roll. But like now I've been training 10 years, it's not that the passion's gone, but it's like, you know, because I'm still passionate about jiu-jitsu, but I don't have that same sense of like, I can't wait to roll tonight. And, you know, it's a little sad because I wish I did, you know, just to be honest.
As someone who lost that for a while, it does come back eventually. But to answer your question, like what you said a lot, like sleep, nutrition, all that'll help. The other thing to remember is like, you don't have to roll every night. You know, you can go to class and find guys to flow roll with, find other older guys who want to go a bit slower. Like you don't have to keep up with the young guys, especially if you're finding it hard, or like if rolling with the young guys 2 days a week is making it so you can't train anymore. Maybe like tone down how much you roll or how hard you roll, or find ways around it. I mean, ultimately, most of us don't make our livings from jiu-jitsu. If you're just there for fun and you're there to learn, like you don't have to do anything you don't want to do.
Yeah, exactly. If you like legit just don't feel like rolling that night, just don't roll that night. But the same thing too, I've talked about before. Sometimes it is good to go anyways, because, you know, then you burn calories, stay healthy. And so it's just, yeah, but it's about finding a balance really.
Well, like last night I went in, I taught class, and I just did not feel like rolling. You know, I wanted to at the start of the day, but when I got there, I did the first round and just felt really off. Like I'm probably just going to get hurt if I tried today. And we had like the slowest, laziest roll I think we've ever had, but that's exactly what I needed, was just move around, feel some movements without actually going hard and hurting my body.
Exactly. I was like so tired. It does not feel like rolling at all, because like I was out in the sun all day trying to fix the pool and cutting the grass, because it had been cut in like weeks because I was gone in Boston, all this stuff. And so it's just like, I was just drained, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, kind of just, like I said earlier, kind of burnt out with everything. So kind of just a depressing kind of day. So yeah, I didn't feel like rolling hard, and it was nice to have that just like flow roll. And I've never rolled that lazy before, I don't think, with you. So
I have a question on the same subject. Should I feel like, because I always feel like I should be able to hang with all of the blue belts. Like I know we always bring up Alexi, he's half my age, but I always feel like I should be able to hang with him. Should I always feel like that? Like that's kind of my goal. That's what keeps me sharp, I think. Is that a bad thing? Is it a good thing?
Yeah, you know, it can go both ways, because I mean, the reality is it shouldn't matter, like in a sense, because everyone's so different, right? And you know, he is a lot younger, and he's still he's very fast because he's youthful, all this stuff. So it's hard to really compare. But I mean, yeah, you are on TRT, so like it does
even it up a bit.
It does even it out a bit, exactly.
Okay.
So man, it's hard to say. That's a hard one for sure, But just in general, it is best not to compare yourself to others. Be happy with your own progress, and everyone knows that. But again, just because you know something doesn't mean that you're gonna not feel that way.
It's still hard,
so,
yeah.
It's still very hard. It's hard to control your how you feel. It's like you got to control your actions, but controlling how you feel is extremely difficult.
I agree.
Yeah, and like it's good to keep up with him and like use him as an example, but that doesn't mean you have to do that every night. I mean, if you're like, he's young, he's athletic, like we talked about TRT, let's not talk about the biggest difference maker for a lot of people, which is just genetics. Like he has good athletic genetics. Like that's good for him. You don't have to roll super hard and keep up with him 5 nights a week. You can go easy and pick 2 nights a week where you're like, these 2 nights are going to be my nights where I test myself. And, I make sure I keep up with him. And that way you don't have to go hard every night and try and recover the next day. You can have a hard night, easy night, hard night, easy night.
That's good for the question that was just asked too.
Yeah,
and
and
advice for him.
And that's 100% the best way to train anything in sport, is to go hard some nights and go lighter other nights and medium other nights, or days rather. So, you want to have like varying, levels of intensity. That way you can actually recover. So with like sports science improving and all that, that's really, that's really come to light, and it's really important to emphasize that. So you can't go hard every night. You're going to burn out for sure, which I need to take that advice. I go hard. Yeah, I go too hard on everything. I got to relax. What the hell? So let's take another viewer question. This one's from Dan.
Hey guys, this is Dan from Chicago. I've been training for about 6 months, and I feel like most areas of my game are progressing pretty well, except for submissions. Sorry about my dog. When it comes to like live rolling, I feel like I can't land a submission for the life of me. So I guess just curious what you guys recommend to get better at submissions, and maybe if there's 1 or 2 that you think are best to start with. Thanks.
So for me, there's like 2 schools of thought. There's like one thing you can do is just go for things, and who cares if it doesn't work out? You can just get back to your guard or whatever. Like, cause that was always my mentality. It's like, I can try things, and if it doesn't work out, no big deal, because I'll just get back to a good position, So that's one thing, but that could also, go the opposite direction, where you're trying things that are just like not there, and you're just like messing up, and now you don't get yourself in a good position to get submissions. But the other way is to be really tight and deliberate with your movements to try to get submissions. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Joey?
I think like it's hard, because especially as someone new, usually, like obviously there are exceptions, but to get most submissions, you have to like control a position and completely control someone, isolate something, and then finish it. And if you're new, that's going to be hard to do against people who aren't new, especially. Like, it'll be very difficult. Most people don't let you get those positions where you can get most submissions. So if you're looking for like you asked for a couple submissions to work on, I would say try to pick submissions that maybe you can get from more than one spot. Like the one I always recommend for people when they're new is Kimura, because you can do Kimura from so many different places that it doesn't require you to, pass guard, get to a very specific spot, mount, hold that, get to the back, and then control, which like those are good things to do. You should learn how to do those. But if that's all you're doing, you're going to have a hard time doing that in live rolls against really good guys when you're new. Like, let's be honest, it's difficult. Picking a submission that you can do from a lot of places will give you more opportunities to try it, and then hopefully more opportunities to finish it.
Yeah, I agree. And I just think in general, we should like sometime make like a tier list of submissions in jiu-jitsu, like the hardest ones to get to the easiest ones, because I mean, some that you might think are easy that are taught as fundamentals, like the armbar from close guard. I mean, that's a hard submission to get. So like, but even though it's taught in fundamentals, so, maybe all these white belts keep going for arm bars from close guard and just like not working, not having much success with them, and thinking, what's going on here? I suck at submissions, but in reality, there's just easier submissions to go for. So I think that another one is a good example. I think Americanas become easier as you get better at jiu-jitsu, but they're very hard when you're not as good at jiu-jitsu, unless like you're a strong dude or lady and can really force it, because it took me a long time to really understand how to get Americanas without just like forcing the crap out of them. But now I love Americanas, do them all the time. So yeah, it can be such a tough thing. I would say too, like I would try to get to the back a lot, because the back has a lot of options, and because, I think the back's the best place to be. I mean, if you're fight someone in like a boxing match, say you're fighting Mike Tyson, I'd much rather fight him if he had his back turned the whole time. You know what I mean? It'd be a lot easier. So it's the same thing with jiu-jitsu. You know, having someone's back gives you so much advantage, and you have chokes available, arm bars available to you, triangles, all sorts of good stuff. So, you know, but I love the back. So like, I got a bias, you know, what I like to say is all routes lead to the back, you know, because for me, they do. I love the back. What do you think, Mike?
When I was at the stage he's at, I just tried to pick a couple submissions and just go for that for about a 2-month period. I think I spoke about on another podcast, I would focus on something for a couple months, like say just the Kimura or just the Americana. And then once I hit that, you know, often enough, then I switched to something else. So I would just focus on a couple.
Do you remember
basic ones.
Do you remember which ones like they had the most success with?
Yeah, the lockdown and electric chair sweep.
Man, why do you got to disappoint me?
I know I disappointed you.
That's why you didn't get your 4th stripe. There you go. No, for me, the submission I got the most as a white belt was arm bars for sure. But it's funny I talked about like from closed guard not being as great, but because when I was a white belt, I actually got a lot of closed guard arm bars, but I really had to force them. I really had to like, you know, use so much like speed and strength to get them. And now it's like they're harder to get because I'm more fluid. And yeah, I think there's easier submissions to get, but yeah, I got like arm bars all the time. I remember, just a quick story, my first tournament, I lost and that sucked. And then my second tournament, I won 4 matches in a row by arm bar. And my third tournament, I won 4 matches in a row by arm bar. And I felt like Ronda Rousey because, you know, she was really popular at the time too. But yeah, you know, arm bars are, you know, a good one for sure.
It's also an option too, like learning submissions that go together really well as like a pair. So like an arm bar and a triangle, so that you don't just have to try for one thing from closed guard. Like if they defend, you have another option and you can go back and forth between the two. Because I find especially like a lot of people are really good at defending one submission. If you just throw closed guard armbar at them, people are usually good at reacting to that. But if you can build 1 or 2 things that kind of go together and complement each other, you can sometimes get people to give you one by threatening the other.
Yeah, that's a good point. One I recommend is the what's it called, the cross collar choke to armbar, because I've shown that many times in the channel. You try to get a cross collar choke, they defend, you go for the armbar. So, you know, having these like submission chains work really good. And even if you're not going for the cross collar itself, you know you're not gonna, you know, get it. It'll open up the armbar. And there's a lot of things like that. I think practicing submission chains will really help you. Let's take another question. This one is from, let's see, this one's from Yoshio.
So how far do you plan on pushing yourself in the MMA world? And what other martial arts are you training along with jiu-jitsu to make you an overall better fighter?
Yeah, like I'm not going to pursue MMA at all. Like sometimes, like before I started the channel, my goal was to become a UFC champion. I'm like watching these guys, I'm like, I can beat you, like looking at all of them. But you know, now I just like, I don't know. I don't want to do that. I'm not into MMA, pursuing that just because I value my brain health a lot, and the amount of money you can make is not worth you know, your brain on the line. Because if you don't become champion or household name, you're not gonna make much money, and you're gonna be like, your brain's gonna be fried.
Guys are paying for it now from years ago, like Spencer King, I think his name is.
Yeah.
Spencer Fisher.
Spencer
Fisher. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. He's really paying for it now. There's a lot of guys really paying for it now. Nam Fan.
Yeah, I've talked about this a lot with people, and you know, I feel bad like name dropping.
Yeah, I
but
know. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. No, we should because I don't think they're gonna listen anyways, and I think it's important people there's awareness for it, so people can check these out. Like if you're listening to the podcast, go to Nam Fan's Instagram. Nam Fan is a former Ultimate Fighter contestant. And listen to the difference in his voice from then to now. And it's just like shocking. It's like very concerning. When I saw that, I changed everything I did with sparring. I spar way lighter now. And I changed like what my game plan would be for MMA. I'm like, I'm not going to stand and bang. I'm going to take these guys down, because man, it's just like he's slurring his words. He sounds way less coherent, and it's scary.
And that's not reversible. Like you get one brain. No. If you ruin that, like, sorry, you're out of luck now.
Exactly. And I'm sure at the time, even now, he's like, oh, you know, he's fine, you know, because he still spars. I still see on his Instagram, he still spars and everything. I'm like, oh man, I don't think you should do that. It's going to make it worse, right? He only got one brain, one life. But I mean, at the same time, you know, his like motto was like fight or die. You know, he just loves fighting. So if that's what he loves, it's hard to say any different.
Do you think we're going to see an epidemic of fighters ending up with traumatic brain injury? Like you see these wars like Robbie Lawler had with Rory McDonald, and you see wars, all the time. And every time I watch that, I'm like, oh my God, did that just, slur his speech 5 years from now?
So let's take another question. This one is from Raphael.
I would love to hear your thoughts on why Jiu-Jitsu or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, in any of its phases, like gi or no gi, it's not present at the Olympics. And do you know if there's a plan in the future years to be for Jiu-Jitsu to be part of the Olympics? Do you agree with that? What will be your choice, gi or no gi? Thank you.
Yeah, so this is a great question, and I think that mine and Joey's opinions may differ slightly, but also be very similar. So we're going to start with Joey and see what he has to say.
Yeah, I'm pretty vocal on this. I've gotten in a lot of debates with people about it. So I do have pretty strong opinions. I really don't want jiu-jitsu to be in the Olympics. I can explain why if you guys want first, or we can go into some of the
let's go
Sure.
why first.
I just think every other time a sport's brought into the Olympics, one thing that has to happen is the International Olympic Committee has to have its say on the rule set and what it'll look like, because they're the ones airing it, they're the ones putting it on, so it has to meet their criteria. It has happened with a lot of other sports in the past where the Olympic Committee has accepted a sport into the Olympics, but changed something about the rule set, the format, the way it works to make it more viewer friendly or to make it more distinct from other sports. So a common example is judo. Some rules were changed to make it more viewer friendly. With jiu-jitsu being really similar in appearance to judo or wrestling, depending if you choose gi or no gi, there's definitely going to be some sort of rule shift made to make it more distinct. If you look at most of the martial arts in there, the way people train in gyms is usually reflection of the rule set at the highest level of competition. That's just the way it works. I mean, if you're training judo, most gyms follow International Judo Federation rules because your athletes want to compete. Well, they have to compete in that rule set. So why would you train things that don't fit the rule set that they have to compete in? Now, jiu-jitsu is a little different because we have things like ADCC, submission only, IBJJF, which is a whole separate debate on whether or not we should try and find some sort of unified rule system. That's like the gold standard. But you look at most gyms when they train no-gi, they train ADCC rules basically. When they train gi, one of the reasons most gyms don't train heel hooks in the gi is because there's no tournaments that allow it ever. So why would you work on moves that just aren't allowed? And if you severely alter the rule set at the highest level, it's going to trickle down and really affect the way things are taught, the way things are trained. And you could lose really valuable parts of your art. Like judo, there's a lot of rules in a lot of gyms where you just can't touch people's legs. Mm-hmm. You can't shoot things like double leg takedowns, which for a sport, I understand it's very different than wrestling, and there's still a lot you can do in judo. But if you're trying to make a martial art that's as effective as possible, the more things you say you can't do, the less effective your martial art is. And I just don't want to see that happen to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, so I 100% agree with Joey's concern, but for me, it's not as much of a concern because I still would like to see it in the Olympics. I think that'd be amazing, and I'm not as worried as Joey in the sense of it changing the rules too much, just because there are a lot of different rule sets right now that that are different from each other, and competitors often will train for those specific rule sets, but overall, jiu-jitsu in the academies, it's it doesn't seem like it has, but it's more like gym dependent. So it is something that, it is a concern to me, but it's not 100%. I'm not as worried. So, and if it is gi or no gi, I think I'd like to see no gi. I think, or both. Yeah, both too. But I'm more of a fan of no gi personally. So I'd like to see no gi.
I think if you were going to do it, obviously I don't want them to, but if they were going to, I think you have to do no gi for a spectator friendliness. I would prefer if they were going to do it to at least maybe bring in some people from the IBJJF and some people from ADCC and sit down and let's talk about finding the right rule set rather than just go, the Olympic committee's bringing it in, and here's the rule set we're using for it. Like, let's talk and find that happy medium ground. It's something that maybe is like a better representation than the other tournaments.
I think that's crucial. And I also think that, like wrestling, as far as I know, the rules in the Olympic wrestling is the same as like high school wrestling and just wrestling in general, right?
There's some differences depending where, like freestyle and folk style wrestling have slightly different rule sets. So it kind of depends where. I know some high schools in Canada are different than the States that way, which is different than the Olympics.
Exactly. And there's also Greco-Roman in the Olympics. So there's like these different styles, but they still, they're not nerfed, they're still like very, they're still what they are. It's still wrestling. So definitely a concern. And I don't think that they would change it too much. And if they did, it would get a lot of pushback. And if they did, I don't know if like jiu-jitsu as a whole would be affected by it, because I think like stuff like judo, it's a lot more traditional, and they listen way more to the International Jiu-Jitsu Federation or International Judo Federation, and they're just like, it's more of a traditional sport, where jiu-jitsu is more like, I feel like almost like renegades almost of like sports, just a little different. Every jiu-jitsu people want to do their own thing. They don't want to be told what to do. And compared to other martial arts, like like karate too, more traditional, more like listen to the rules, this is what it is. Yeah, jiu-jitsu guys are just like, I want to do it my way. This gym will do it this way. This gym will do it this way. And it really varies that way. So, yeah, interesting question. What do you think, Mike?
I'd like to see it in the Olympics. I'd also like to see MMA in the Olympics as well.
Yeah.
Amateur MMA. And then you'd really see who the best in the world are. I'd really like to see it. As a spectator, it would be exciting for me to watch. I don't watch the Olympics because there's nothing exciting when it's not wrestling and when it's not judo. They have ping pong in the Olympics. Why not jiu-jitsu?
Man, they got a lot of stuff in the Olympics. I'm just like, what? Why? How is this a thing?
We were talking about this before the podcast, about all the crazy stuff that's in there. And that's why, in my opinion, I think it should be in there.
Yeah. I think you brought up a great point about MMA. I think that one challenge with doing it with MMA is that you might have guys that kind of sandbag, in the sense they don't go pro for a long time because they want to stay amateur and go into the Olympics, which is kind of what you see with boxing. You see guys, they stay amateur for so long, and then they transition to pro. It's just a tough one.
Yeah, I would prefer not to see MMA in the Olympics if possible. I kind of wish boxing wasn't in the Olympics. I have a little bit of like a moral dilemma when it comes to like amateur combat sports for like boxing and kickboxing and MMA, where like you're still taking the same amount of brain trauma, but you're just not getting paid. And, winning, maybe going to the Olympics is really cool, but if you're going to be, brain damaged at the age of 30 because of it, is that worth it? Because you didn't get paid.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because that is something I'm a little passionate about and frustrated, because it doesn't make sense to me, like amateur Muay Thai and MMA and everything in Canada and everywhere, you don't get paid for it. The promoters make a lot of money because they don't got to pay the athletes, right? So if it was pro, they make less money, so they got to pay the athletes. But again, as amateur, they can make big bucks off the athletes. And I know some people, they still pay under the table. I know that, but I would never name who or anything like that. But I know that does happen. But it's just kind of like a travesty. They're the ones putting on the show. They're the ones fighting, and they're getting nothing from it. Meanwhile, the promoter's just making bank, like tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I think it's and there are some really good promoters who put on amateur events who really care about their athletes, and they're just trying to give them a platform to build. And like, it's nothing against those people, but like, even like as an athlete, like if you're doing 20, 30 amateur fights, like you and your coaches need to sit down and figure out, like, is this going to be your career path? Mm-hmm. Is this just something you're doing for fun? Because there is a cost that you're paying.
Yeah, and why can't an amateur Muay Thai or MMA fighter make like $300-400 for their fight? Why can't they? That doesn't make any sense to me. Just because they're amateur, they can't benefit from it. Because it does take a lot of time and money to get ready for a fight. So how does that even make sense? I feel like maybe there should be like a cap where it's like you can't make this much, then you turn pro. But to not make any money from it, it's kind of ridiculous.
100% agree. Like there should be a cap, like $500 or $1,000 or something like that, where you can make under that to at least cover the cost of like transportation, a hotel room if you have to stay over. Like maybe paying your coach to come with you too. Because for some people who like travel for these amateur fights, like you still have to bring your coaches. Everyone's paying for this out of pocket. No one's getting paid. That's a lot of money that you're paying to go get brain damage.
Well, yeah, we'll take another question. This one is from Jack.
How long do you think you need to train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to be able to defend yourself in a street fight or in a club, whatever it may be? Do you think it might be 1 year in as a white belt, like 2-3 years blue belt, purple belt? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'll start this one off because I almost got in 2 fights in Boston, so like not like super close, but yeah. So shockingly, me and Nikki were just walking on the sidewalk, and this guy yells out of the car, "I'm gonna fuck you up." And I'm like, well, I don't even know you, you know, and I give him the thumbs up, and he's like, "Oh, don't do that," you know. But like, yeah, and she's like scared I'm gonna provoke a fight. But yeah, they just drove off. It's kind of funny, like you're telling me you're gonna fuck me up, but you're driving away.
Yeah,
I don't even know you. Like, what did I do to bother you? I'm just walking on the sidewalk. So, and I was also eating dinner just outside of the mall, and I saw these guys talking about me, and they're like just these 2 guys, and they were just like talking about my tattoos, like kind of pointing at me. I'm like, what did I do to make you mad? I don't know, like if I have like a look to me or people want to fight me, I don't know.
That would have been the worst mistake of their life if they would have went through with that, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, guys, like you don't know, like not that, you know, I don't want to sound like, oh, I can beat up anyone, but I mean, I think the odds would be in my favor that I'd win that fight, even though both cases it was 2 people. I'm confident in my skills. So, but you know, what I did is didn't provoke anything. I didn't give them the finger. I didn't like start talking back to them. You know, I don't need that, especially in the US where, you know, if I get hurt or something, I got to go to the hospital, or I put them in the hospital and I get sued or something. Right. So yeah, I just didn't provoke that at all. So just a weird thing happened twice, but,
it is strange.
Yeah, it is strange, but yeah, you know, it just depends on everyone because I mean, most people, they have no experience with like jiu-jitsu or any martial art, and they still do well in fights. Like, just the reality is some people are just good fighters. Like, I mean, people want to discount that because someone's like, oh yeah, I'm a street fighter, but some people actually are pretty good. You know, some people just have that instinct. So you don't want to be someone that's like, you know, you've been training like 6 months or a year, 2 years. You fight someone that has been in real fights and has been punched in the face, has punched people in the face before, and you haven't. Man, it changes things, you know. I think they have the advantage in a lot of these cases, you know. Like, I wouldn't want to fight someone that's been in like 30 street fights or something like that. Like, I would do well. I'm fine, but I mean, like, if I didn't have any experience, 100% I wouldn't. Either way, I don't want to. Just don't fight, you know. Yeah. Don't fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Use your words. Like, fighting is not worth it. You know, if you really want to fight, take an MMA fight. But yeah, I think it's dependent on the person because like to have true self-defense, jiu-jitsu is not enough. Jiu-jitsu will help, or it can help you, but you need to train boxing or Muay Thai. You need to train takedowns. You need to train MMA if you want to be able to actually defend yourself using martial arts. Again, jiu-jitsu can help if you get to the ground, but I would never want to rely on jiu-jitsu alone.
And even if you have trained like MMA and all that, and you've trained for a long time and you're pretty good, it really does increase your odds of winning a fight. But they're never 100%, even if the guy is not a good fighter, not trained. Like, things go wrong, things happen. Anytime you get in a fight, you're inherently accepting a risk. And you can be the most trained person in the world. You could lose. And especially outside of a cage where there's someone to stop a fight when someone's in danger, like, things can get really bad. So, like, don't go to a club or something with jiu-jitsu and be like, I'm a blue belt, I'm going to go fight people, because things could go really badly.
Exactly. Like, I have confidence in my skill, but I don't know 100% I'm going to win a fight against someone that's untrained. You know, what if you zig when you should have zagged? You know what I mean? You dip down for a takedown or something, they knee you in the head, or you just like turn to your like left when you shouldn't, they got a punch coming. You do not want to take that risk. Like, 100% not worth it. Or they got a friend's got, you know, they punch you in the back of the head, or they hit you with something, whatever it is. Man, the U.S. people have guns and everything. In Canada, it's not as bad for guns.
I'd say do a light CJJ match with a buddy of yours at the gym. See how you'd fare with somebody lightly, you know, slapping you in the face. That changes everything. If those CJJ matches changes everything. I watched a guy get knocked out by one palm strike because he was going for a heel hook.
Yeah, and just like, I think a great idea too. I think, yeah, why not? Why, like, every jiu-jitsu practitioner should like just go to MMA sparring just like once, you know, just to see what it's like. See if you can use your jiu-jitsu to get someone down that is trained, and see if you can use it effectively. And if you're really good at jiu-jitsu, you might be just fine. You might just demolish these guys. But if you're not, if you're just like more like 6 months of training, even, you know, or you don't have takedowns, it might be pretty eye-opening how much more you need than just jiu-jitsu alone.
And you'll notice real quick how playing, you know, your closed guard and going for triangles might not be the best strategy when someone can throw punches from on top of you. Yeah. Like, you'll realize that jiu-jitsu is great and it works and it's effective, but when someone can hit you, you have to change the way you approach the grappling.
It changes everything. And I think people don't realize this so much. Like, when I first started sparring MMA and everything, I didn't have like amazing success. I was really eye-opening to me. I cannot be on the bottom no matter what. If I get on the bottom, I got to try as hard as I can to get on top as soon as possible. I got to fight off every takedown, because your jiu-jitsu becomes not as effective when you're on the bottom as someone can punch you.
I have a true story as well. I used to be a doorman at a club in Trenton years ago. This is probably early 2000s. And I took a guy outside and we started to tussle a bit. I got him to the ground. I tripped him, got him to the ground. I said, okay, you're done. You guys go. And then I got soccer kicked in the face. Mm-hmm. So there's always 3 other guys standing there, and you end up having to have fake teeth if you get in a real fight.
Oh, man. They knocked your teeth out?
Exactly. Knocked my teeth out. Well, this side anyways, knocked it out. Soccer kick right to the face. Luckily, there was other doormen there that grabbed them and pulled them off, or I would have been done. They could have stomped my head in.
Exactly. Like, you never should take any risks with your health, and fighting is a huge risk. I mean, yeah, don't fight. Everyone, don't fight. Don't do it. Right? If you want to fight, take an MMA fight.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks for listening to the podcast. I hope you had a great time, and we'll see you next time for episode 7.